Hey guys, Matt Donald here. I gotta be upfront about something. That episode that I was supposed to come out last month and the month before, the Dino Island and Sea Monsters: A Prehistoric Journey, they have not come out yet, as you can see. The reason why I'm so behind, and I truly apologize, is my anxiety is through the freaking roof and beyond, up to the stars and heavens. This damn election coming up in America. I am scared coprolightless. Excuse a bit of paleo humor. I really want Kamala Harris to win, and I really want Trump to lose. Normally, I wouldn't say specifically which candidate I'm for to keep things apolitical, but knowing the target audience of this podcast, you know, it's about dinosaurs, you know, it's about evolution, it's very non-young Earth, and we have some very progressive hosts. I figured I'm pretty safe letting you know up front that I really want Kamala to win and Trump to lose. So, yeah, I'm just really stressed out. It's getting in the way of all my writing and getting in the way of all my creative projects. The only reason why Paleobites has been able to go on, you know, undisturbed by all this is because I kind of anticipated that this would happen, and I record enough that I have a backlog to make sure I have episodes all the way up to the election and beyond. So Paleobites will remain unaltered, but the Patreon itself I have been unable to sit down and do because of my anxiety. Like, I'm being completely real here, no jokes. I've been talking to therapists. I believe in being very open about my mental health struggles, which is why I'm saying this here at the beginning of this episode. It's really a downer, guys. But yeah, to compensate for this, once the election is over, so mid-November, I promise you I will have 4 Patreon episodes available by mid-November. So the 2 that were supposed to come out last month, the 1 that's supposed to come out this month, and then November's as well. So 4 will come out all in a row. In fact, I might even make it 5 so that we're not just caught up, we're ahead. Because I owe you guys that. And I will feel better after the election, even regardless of who wins. Because, yes, obviously, there's one candidate I prefer to win over the other, but the anticipation, the unknowingness, the uncertainty of it, that's really what's adding to my anxiety. And once I know, I should be better enough to get back to work, and I plan to do that. So, yep, that's what's going on with the Patreon. So nothing this month, nothing up until November, but there will be 5 bonus episodes in November. If you would like to cancel your subscription because of that, I would totally understand, but it will be back, I promise you. Anyways, back to the show. What a great note to start on. Yeah, dinosaurs. Politics.
Roar. Growl. Snarl. Bellow.
Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast that, like dinosaurs, isn't real. My name's Matthew Donald.
Wait, what?
My name's Matthew Donald. And each week, I and a rotating series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate adjacent prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week, I'm joined by my very confused by my joke co-host, Alan Brooks.
Hi. What was that joke about? Like, not real?
Because there's some people that don't believe in dinosaurs. There's some people that don't believe in dinosaurs, so I just made a reference to that. But then I'm like, well, obviously the podcast is real because you're on it. It's just like, it's meant to be like a logic bomb joke.
Okay, yes, it definitely worked as a logic bomb joke. Also, I'm very confused by the people who don't believe in dinosaurs. Like, we have their bones.
They're either... Like well, some super like fundamentalist religious people, and these aren't all the people. To be fair, these aren't all the people that don't believe in dinosaurs. This is just a certain type. They're like, oh, God put those, or the devil put those underground to test our faith. And I'm like, there are better ways. If they had the power, there are better ways they could have done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I feel like if I was the devil and I had the power over the earth to make fake bones, I could, you know. Maybe a better way to keep people away from God would be to every time people go to church, just do an earthquake on that area. Like, if I had that power, but I don't know. Anyways,
yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's actually talk about dinosaurs. What dinosaur are we doing this time, Matt?
Wait, hold on. We gotta do a dinosaur-related question because I haven't done one of these in a long time and I feel bad.
Okay.
Dinosaur-related question, and it's a silly one. Since, on the subject of dinosaurs not being real, if there is a prehistoric creature that you're gonna decide, jokingly I should say, is not real, which one would it be and why?
Hmm.
Like, mammoths aren't real. Elephants that are furry, that's hogwash.
Mine would either be the Tully monster, or
Oh, yeah, well, to be fair, I'm not sure that one's real either. I mean, it is real, but it's just...
it's real, but no one has any idea of what the heck this thing is. The other one I was thinking would be something along the lines of that new ichthyosaur we talked about a couple of weeks or months back. The new really big Ichthyotitan one. It's like, yeah, that one just gets deleted. The biggest animal ever to live is the blue whale, living now. No questions asked.
Hey, did you see that video? I think maybe you told me about it, but on the YouTube channel Goji Center, I think, where they talk about a scientifically accurate bloop.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was interesting how they made that work. Yeah, I watched it. Did you watch it?
I did watch it. It's like they took it from
the idea of making it like a giant axolotl
or a mammal to a amphibian. And I'm like, are there any... Okay, real quick question. Is there any seagoing amphibians currently?
I don't think there are any today, but there definitely were in the past. Hold on, let me check.
Because, okay, this is a little bit of a advertisement for it, but it was just a very interesting idea. And for anyone who doesn't know, the bloop was supposedly an immensely loud sound that was heard thousands of miles away from its origin. And someone said if it was organic or something, like some kind of biological sound, because no one had ever heard something like this before.
There is one, by the way.
Ginormous.
Yes, there is one. It's the crab-eating frog. It lives in the mangrove swamps of the Philippines, China, Sumatra, Indonesia, and Taiwan, and can tolerate brief excursions into seawater while it's in the mangroves. So, yeah, this frog can tolerate marine environments, immersion seawater for brief periods, or brackish water for extended periods by increasing urea production and retention, and by remaining slightly hypersomatic within... Point is, it can do it for a bit. So,
okay.
So there's
it's not impossible. I was just thinking it'd be hard.
Yeah.
And in the ancient times, they probably had it. Anyway, back on the bloop, apparently
we now know that it was really an iceberg. Yeah, and that was
a big iceberg that
hit
that calved off of the glacier it was attached to and made a giant splash. And the giant splash was the sound they heard.
Yes.
And, so that is kind of the history of the bloop, and it's just become this crypto monster of what would you call it? More like an urban legend,
kind of. Yeah,
that's
an urban
a better
legend.
way to describe it.
Yeah, because this video didn't believe it was to be real. It even said outright it was this thing. But it's like, but what if it was real? It's like working backwards. Kind of like that Dragon documentary that came out in 2005. It's like, if it was real, how would it work? So,
yeah,
I think that was kind of cool. And like, how big could it get from a biological standpoint? Like, where it actually would make sense? Because the bloop some people make up is like unreasonably big, like.
Unreasonably big, like cargo container ship sized, and it's like
it's like at that point nothing. It's not anything. But the other thing that would eat something well is the topic of our of our discussion today: the newly discovered metriacanthosaurid Alpkarakush.
Okay, give us the stats on this guy.
Okay, Alpkarakush type. Like I said, it's a metriacanthosaurid, which includes my boy Sinraptor, so it's objectively the greatest group of dinosaurs there ever was. Okay. And no one can say otherwise. And it's part of the
Allosauridae what's the class of that? Allosauridae?
A clade.
It's like a...
It's an Allosauroid. Allosaurids are separate from the metriacanthosaurids, because the Allosauroids comprise them both. But the Allosaurids are branch off from the metriacanthosaurids. So
it's a little finicky on all those words, but it's part of that larger family.
Yep. So other metriacanthosaurids include obviously Metriacanthosaurus, Siamotyrannus, young Schwannosaurus, and like I said, my boy Sinraptor. Although there are a few others. Let's see. What are some other? I believe. Actually, wait, no. Is that all of them? Is there only that four?
There's
four?
Inside
there's
Shidysaurid.
There's Shidysaurus.
Yeah. I'm glad you're the one pronouncing these, because I'm looking at some of these names and I'm like, dang.
Well,
that's
like,
really hard
the thing also about this little group of dinosaurs is that almost all of them are in China, except for metriacanthosaurus, which is in England. And so people were very confused. And the thing about our boy Alpkarakush that's important about it is help kind of explain that, which we'll get to in a second. But size 23 to 26 feet / 7 to 8 meters long, 1 to 1.5 tons. It was a carnivore. Time Mid Jurassic, 165 to 160 million years ago. Location Kyrgyzstan, much like the slightly more famous slightly feathered lizard thing, Longasquama. Maybe they were roommates, except Longasquama was from about 100 million years earlier. Maybe they were temporal pen pals. You know Longasquama?
I don't. What is fancy about that?
I think I talked about this last time. It's that lizard thing from Dinosaur that has the big feathers on its back. Remember that the baby Parasaurolophus was chasing at the beginning of Disney's Dinosaur?
That one, okay.
But that's from the Triassic. So, but yeah, we don't think it could fly with it. But it's still that's the only other prehistoric animal I know of from Kyrgyzstan.
More likely
I know
there's
probably a few others. Yeah. I know there's a few others from Kyrgyzstan, but those are the two I know. So, the thing about Kyrgyzstan, though, I'll bring it up. So that's the thing. That's why it's important. That's right in the middle between England and China, geographically, even back then. So it proves that the metriacanthosaurid group was actually pretty widespread. We just only have a few fossils that represent the group.
Okay.
Described in 2024. Pop culture appearance. I'm probably going to include this guy in like a follow-up to my Megazoic series, or one of these guys is like a rival to Cortan and is like really obnoxious and annoying. And if it's like a movie, he'll be like a deliberately lazy palette swap of Cortan's model, except he's a different color. Like if Cortan's blue, this guy will be red. It'll be very lazy. It'll be hilarious.
But so far it has no other...
No, it was just discovered.
No
so
other
nada.
appearances.
Yeah. Just described.
Wait, when you mean discovered, help some of the noobs out here. When they say discovered, does that mean it was described? Okay.
I mean described, not discovered. Yeah, because it was described just this year. Let's see. When it was discovered...
Looks like one of the fossils that was discovered was 2005 and 2006, as well as in 2014.
Yeah, there was initial field work was...
And 2016 and 2017. So it's been a long, ongoing process.
And then finally, a 2023 expedition revisited the site. I think it's interesting to see when these things are described, because if you recall in our earlier Ichthyotitan episode, we found out how that one was described. Well, it was described this year. The first skeleton was found in May of 2020. Now, you recall what was happening during that time in the world.
COVID at that time. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so it's like... Actually, I wonder if it'd be interesting to see if like paleontology was affected too much. Because like the nice thing about paleontology, at least field work in paleontology, is that you could just go out and into the Badlands where there's no one other than you and your team. Like,
yeah.
Because I remember it said like once they found evidence of this giant ichthyosaur, they had to call in more people. But like again, thick of COVID, so it's like it must have been difficult for sure. So. But yeah, so Alpkarakush is notable in that it is a metriacanthosaurid located geographically right in the middle.
Between China and England.
Yes, exactly, where the two other ones are known. So, which again, it shows that this group is probably way more varied than we have fossils for right now. Will we discover more in different places? I don't know. It depends on what the rocks allow and what has survived in those rocks. Man.
As we talked about in a previous episode, sometimes it depends on what rocks are available for... What fossil formations are available for certain times?
I wonder, and this is probably some geologist who knows more about this than I do is probably going to refute this, but I wonder if there are fossils deeper underground in geological layers that are currently below other geological layers, or if you go that deep, is it just magma? I wonder.
I'm not a geologist, but I would hazard to say there are probably spots where if you wanted to dig a hole, you would eventually uncover fossils from earlier times. So if you could find one that's a really recent one, you could dig down through that layer and find more fossils. The problem, of course, is that fossils are really rare to find, or at least dinosaurs are... animals are really rarely fossilized. Most of them just disintegrate.
It depends on like how the layers are built on one another. Dinosaur Ridge, this local place by where I live in Colorado, is really cool because it's their fossils right there. It's on the side of a mountain where you drive up the mountain and then you turn around on the mountain. And on one side of the mountain, it's the layers. It's the Cretaceous layer. On the other side, it's the Jurassic layer. And if you look at the shape of the mountains, you can see the layers building off of each other, like in like one sloping onto the other, and like it's so cool. So on one side it's Cretaceous, the other side it's Jurassic, and it's just right there.
Is it early Cretaceous, late Jurassic? In specifically that location?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like about 100 million years ago to about 150 million years ago. So
that's really cool.
It is. There's some cool fossils there. That's also where Stegosaurus was first discovered. On that place, I've given tours at the site where Stegosaurus was first discovered. When I volunteered there. So, in terms of
important question. Yes. This is a theropod dinosaur, and quite frankly, it seems like nowadays almost all theropod dinosaurs tend to get feathers. Do you think Alpkarakush was feathered?
We have no evidence for it. Like, to be fair, not all meat-eating dinosaurs have feathers. Currently, all the ones we have confirmed have feathers, I believe, are all in the Maniraptora clade. Or in the Coelurosaur clade, or in the Coelurosaur clade. So, allosaurids and spinosaurids and ceratosaurids, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but as far as I know, zero evidence of feathers. But then again, we found some pterosaurs with feathers. So, unless they evolved them, unless it evolved twice, which is possible.
Unless it was convergent evolution.
Yeah, and then again, I also see a lot of depictions of Coelophysis with primitive feathers, so I don't know. So I would wager, because unlike something like Carnotaurus, which has those thick scoots and therefore having feathers seems a little bit weird, I would wager this could probably have feathers for sure. I mean, it's hypothetical rather than like.
It's hypothetical. Okay,
we have no evidence for it, so it's a hypothesis rather than a theory, but. I could see that for sure. It's interesting to think what dinosaurs had feathers and which ones didn't. I like to think more of them had feathers than we think, including some plant eaters. Like, imagine a long-necked dinosaur. Obviously, wouldn't have much because it's so big, but it has like a little horse-like mane of feathers on its head and maybe a little bit on its tail.
That would be interesting. It would be interesting to try and find out how far do feathers go back in the dinosaur group. Sorry, right. I'm not using the proper terminology, trying to keep it straight.
Dinosaur clade. When all else fails, say the word clade, because clade is generic. But yeah.
It would be interesting to know how far back feathers evolved on the dinosaur clade.
I'm assuming, based on the artwork I've seen, pretty almost instantly. Like, if Coelophysis had them. Although, then again, you get into the whole weeds of, like, those early dinosauromorphs, like Lagosuchus and Smuck, which is a funny name. And it's looks like a big theropod dinosaur, but it's actually an Archosaur form that, like, isn't quite a theropod, we don't think. But did it have feathers? I don't know. And then, like, you get into, like... Crocodiles obviously don't have feathers. Are there any... if pterosaurs have feathers and dinosaurs had feathers, crocodiles are also archosaurs. Do some crocodiles in the group have feathers? Like back in time or whatever, which would be weird to think about. That sounds very Aztec to me.
That would be very weird. It would have to be some kind of land-based one.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense for it to be... Yeah, maybe imagine like a Caprosuchus with big plumage like a peacock.
Yeah, no. Let's not get too far into the weeds. I think we talked... One thing I do have to ask is, in a lot of the art I'm seeing for Alpkarakush, obviously it has a brow ridge, but some of them also seem to show a little pine cone-shaped protrusion
the cranial,
near the back.
Yeah, well, like eye crests are the post-orbital crest, I believe, is like... I believe... That is entirely speculative, because if you look at the restoration further down the Wikipedia page, and you click on that and zoom in, you see it does not have those. Okay, it definitely does have that the kind of the bony crest along the brow. Yeah, is that the right word? Yeah, Sinraptors had those. Like a lot of allosaurids had those. So, or allosauroids, I should say. But I think
function did they serve?
Display mainly.
Okay.
And like maybe helping them heat up a little bit in the morning, because again they were probably mesothermic rather than full on endothermic.
Yeah.
So.
More energy efficient to be that. So you can move fast when you need to move fast, but you don't have the gargantuan appetite that mammal.
Right.
And gosh, you use all the special terminology, and I don't. It's embarrassing.
It's like, oh, so with the blood thing with the food thing and the eating good thing. That's not quite what you sound like. Don't worry.
Yeah, but it's like endothermic is the right term, or no?
Yes. Good job.
Okay.
Here's your cookie. So, I think the pine cone looking crest on that picture here of the portrait on the Wikipedia page, I believe, was just a stylistic choice to make it go with the feathers. I think. To look.
Yeah. And again, we have no idea if they had feathers.
Because looking at like the hall type specimen contains skull bones, most torso orbitals, and quattro jugal. So parts of dorsal vertebrae and 5. So yeah, like there's no skull, or at least complete skull. Skull bones makes it like I thought the skull was one bone, but then again there's a jaws. What am I talking about? Of course, the skull isn't one bone.
Yeah, there's there's several bones in the skull. But looking at a kind of a diagram on what they have, it looks like they mostly have hips, most of the legs, a little bit of spine, and some ribs, as well as little partial fragments in the arm, a tiny piece in the chest, and a little bit in the head. So a lot of this stuff is guesswork based on the other species in the clade that they are in. The
very fragmentary. Yeah, very fragmentary remains.
Which is common for newly described dinosaur species.
Well, and to be fair, there's some that have even less than this, like Saroniops, which is one of my favorite dinosaurs purely due to the name. It's a Carcharodontosauride, and we only know it from just a little bit of the post-orbital skull bone, and like that's it. So there's some talk and thinking like it's a nomen nudum, which is like where that means it's not enough, rather than nomen dubium, which means that it doesn't make sense to classify it as its own genus. Well, nomen nudum is like there's not enough evidence for it to differentiate it from that thing. So they're thinking maybe Saroniops might be Carcharodontosaurus, which would make me sad because one of my characters in my book is a Saroniops. But that's the risk you take of writing paleo fiction. So
yeah, sometimes you have
to end things off real quick.
On that question, do you think there's a high likelihood that Alpkarakush could be become what's the term when it means that it basically gets removed as a specific species and kind of folded into another?
I think that's nomen dubium. No.
Okay, nomen dubium. What do you think the chances are that Alpkarakush will become a nomen dubium?
Nomen dubium, sorry, like gnome, like name.
Nomen dubium.
Pretty minimal because we have a lot more bones for it than we do for some other nomen dubiums, and also. Like one of the most famous nomen dubiums is Troodon, poor old Troodon. When we thought that the bones that we had for it were more extensive, it turned out the only bone that was its own genus that was actually assigned to Troodon was a single tooth. At which point we're like, there's no way that we can have enough information for this to be its own species. So bye Troodon, which is a shame because Troodon's fun, but no Troodon. Okay. This one we have far more bones for, and there's nothing really to mistake it for. Like again, we have no other metriacanthosaurids in the area, so I'd assume that it's safe for now. But
okay, that is a little bit of a worry. Don't need to be too hasty about it. We'll let more of the fossils become found. I did actually take a look. A little bit side note. Took a little look at Kyrgyzstan, and it's kind of a small country.
Oh yeah, Kyrgyzstan itself is pretty small. I was looking at the formation that was in the Balabansai formation in Kyrgyzstan, and I was looking to see what other dinosaurs it lived with. The only other dinosaurs we have bones for are Ferganosaurus, which is a basal sauropod, Ferganocephalae, which is a dubious taxon. It means I guess we just don't have enough a nomen dubium, but some sort of neo-ornithischian, and then some sort of tetranurian, which is like the clade that includes most theropod dinosaurs, and then some sort of indeterminate stegosauria. So ones that we don't have. These are the ones that they haven't been described yet. They've been discovered, but not described, and we're looking for more bones before we can officially say like, okay, this is its own thing. So we also have some indeterminate ramphorhynchid bones for pterosaurs. And, there's a few mammals. Simpsonodon, Tashkirmiodon, Paratiodon, and Ferganodon. What does Fergano mean? I've seen it 3 times here. Let me look this up. Meaning Fergana Valley lizard. Okay, it makes sense. It's part of the location. The Fergana Valley is a valley in Central Asia, lying mostly in eastern Uzbekistan and skidding into southern Kyrgyzstan and northern Tajikistan. What's your favorite Stan? Mine's Stan Lee, but
I was just gonna say, you ought to get kudos for trying to pronounce all of those names. Though some of them I'm like, we may need to pause and explain these sorts of some of these
well, Kyrgyzstan I looked up before we recorded for sure. Uzbekistan sounds pretty straightforward, but I don't know. Tajikistan, who knows? I don't know if I got that one right.
I was actually thinking the Bonsai Formation was one, and then there was another one. It was like some kind of... Oh, shoot. Okay.
Central Asia is just such a fascinating region. Like the Kazakhs, or it goes straight a little bit into the Mongolian and like the Hindustani, so getting a little bit into India, but not quite. It's about and mostly a lot of it used to be in the Soviet Union, but now it's kind of been on its own for a bit.
Own thing.
So
one thing I am curious about is how much. This is very much tangential, but how much work needs to be done in the Bonsai Formation because it sounds like they've got tons of dinosaurs they need to find more fossils of, and if this foundation has this much fragmentary fossils with the fragmentary fossils of different animals, it might be very, I don't know, it might be a good spot if you're might be an interesting spot to go
to look for more stuff. Yeah, like
look for more stuff there. Yeah,
I wonder if it's like if it's the soil is not great, or is it political? Like maybe they don't allow people to come in for political reasons, like teams from certain places, or I don't know if that's the case. I don't know the politics for that region, but maybe that has something to do. I don't know.
I was going to say politics sounds like the reason why it would be stopped. Why it would be struggling.
It's like the governments don't want people from different countries, like from different teams. Look, I don't know. I don't want to put forward any rumors like, oh, no, they're very unfriendly down there. They're like, no, you're not allowed. But that's just one possible idea. Like the feathered Alpkarakush, it's a hypothesis, not a theory, based on nothing. Nothing but vibes. So, but yeah. Well... the nice thing I like about you on this show is that you're really good at keeping us on topic and talking about the animal for the whole time. So,
yeah.
Now, not to shame any of my co-hosts where we just talk about nonsense for 30 minutes, it's the duality of paleobites, the yin and yang. And also it's all, I mean, that's why I have different co-hosts, so that way it's all different experiences. So, let's rate Alpkarakush 1 out of 65 million. I'm going to rate it, because it's closely related to my boy Sinraptor, I'm going to rate it 51 million. It gets 50 million from its close relation to Sinraptor, 1 million of its own merit. So. Yeah,
I was going to say for me, I'm going to be very different. 45 million, you need more bits. Seriously need to see if there's something funky going on with that skull.
Guys, get to Kyrgyzstan and find more of this thing.
As well as all of the species it lives near. It sounds like this is very much a untapped well of fossils.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely a place that needs a little more exploration in the fossil record.
Ooh,
so many of them were just described as
it might be because a lot of this area was originally in the Soviet Union before. Maybe we weren't able to start our digs there until relatively recently, like post 91, post fall of the Soviet Union, and and then these, as we can tell by this one, with the first bones found in 2003, it takes a while to find anything big like that. So maybe that's the reason. Maybe we just haven't started looking up until after the Soviet Union fell, and then Again, just a theory.
That is obviously very reasonable. Though I'm surprised the Soviet Union didn't do more of that stuff.
Well, let's find stuff themselves? Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
It's like, why didn't they do more of their own paleontology? Who knows?
I mean, they did a little. That's what we talked about, like, whatever is it? Inostrancivia. Yeah, so...
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, all right. Well, that's it for this week. If you want to get a hold of the show, you can contact me at palebytespodcast@gmail.com, at palebytespod on Twitter, and palebytespodcast on Instagram. You can find me on social media on Matthewdon64 on Twitter and Instagram, and Matthewdon Creator on Facebook. If you want to find Alan, don't. He's pretty off of social media. He's nary but a ghost and a whisper in the wind. And thank God, I say, because he's not fallen into the horrible rabbit hole that is social media. Oh my goodness,
you're scary for me.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. It's pretty ridiculous for sure. But if you have any questions for him specifically, feel free to email palebytespodcast@gmail.com and send questions and call him out specifically, and then I'll relay the questions. Yeah, that's what I'll say. So yeah. Anyways, I have a book series now is on Megazoic, available for print and Kindle. No Alpkarakush, because again, I just heard about it. But again, it's close relative Sinraptor, the main character of all the books. So just because I love that species for some weird reason, it just clung on to me like a remora onto a shark and has not let go since. I don't know why I had a better. I don't know why he didn't have a better analogy than that. What are the barnacles? People know barnacles.
Yes, it is grabbed onto you like a barnacle and has not let go.
No, like barnacle onto a ship. Yeah. So I was trying to think of it, but I was like only thinking of the fish that's attached itself into sharks. I'm like, no one knows this but me. But okay, I mean, people know that. But yeah. Anyways, all right. Well, that's it for this week. We'll see you at the end of every episode of Paleo Bites. Alpkarakush, more like Alpkaratush, because it. No, I don't know.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah. I'll edit in a flawless outro here. So here it is. Anyways.
All right.